This video is brought to you by Big Bad Toy Store. Make your purchases through my personal link in the description to help out the channel. Furthermore, if you want to support me more directly, you can check out my YouTube channel membership for fun emojis and sneak peeks, or my Patreon. Links in the description. So, as you can probably tell, I'm in a bit of Transformery mood, and I know these videos usually don't get as many views as like my Marvel Legends or DC things, but you know, it's gonna get back to that at some point. But for now, I'm gonna take a closer look at this Studio Series Megatron I picked up. So, as you can see, I've already sort of prepared him for a spray paint job, because this figure is really bland looking in terms of just like this gray plastic. It just doesn't really do it for me. So I'm gonna spray paint him in like a sort of gunmetal, and then we're gonna do some dry brushing with silver, and then we're gonna add in these gold details again and give him like a nice wash and make him look really weathered and rusty, because that's sort of what it looked like in the movie. So when I was making up my mind about which Megatron to get, I pretty much immediately settled on the Revenge of the Fallen design. I think the first movie is a little bit too just like jumbled spikes, and then this one is a bit more cohesive, and then Dark of the Moon has a really cool design, but it's sort of like, and then in Age of Extinction, I hate the Galvatron design. I think it's terrible. And then The Last Knight, he looks good, but I sort of feel like the more the movies try to like appease the G1 fans, the less it sort of succeeds, because I kind of like the movies to be their own thing. Like, I love how Optimus looks in Bumblebee, but at the same time, I just sort of feel like I've seen this before so many times. And again, I'm not saying it's bad, but I'm also saying that there's nothing wrong with trying new interpretations of things, because the original stuff will always be there. Like, for instance, not a lot of people like the movies, but without the movies, we wouldn't have Transformers Prime, which is by far my favorite piece of Transformers media. So, yeah, I can appreciate the movies for what they are. And, you know, I do find them entertaining, so. But anyway, let's spray paint this guy. So with all this nice silver applied, we're gonna do a little bit of paint wash, and this is the first time I've used the Vallejo black wash, because I usually use Citadel, but they were out of stock when I tried to order that. So yep, Vallejo it is, and this is my first time testing this paint out. So we just cover the entire thing. We're gonna finish him off with a dry brush anyway, so it doesn't really matter if it's a little bit dinky. And also Megatron in the movie is quite worn, because he's been laying in the sea for a couple of, I don't know, how long is the time skip between Revenge of the Fallen and the first movie? See, we have these nice panels. You see how the black has seeped into the grooves. Also, Megatron essentially being a huge blob of spikes set together, there's gonna be quite a lot of shadows, so a wash like this is perfect. So another thing, because of we're essentially trying to paint in shadows on a scale model, right? And Megatron is supposed to be, you know, he's gigantic, so these natural shadows, we can afford them to be a little bit more in your face than usual, because these are like pretty big panels we're painting. So honestly, I'm still not really sure what to do with the gold, but in the meantime, we'll go ahead and start the dry brushing process. And it's just gonna brighten him up a bit, give the metal paint some more definition, and it's just gonna look really, really cool, hopefully. Careful about getting the silver into the grooves. I put the wash in. I feel like with Megatron you don't really need to be perfect, because as I said, he is quite beat up in the movie already. Like, even pre-Dark of the Moon, he was still pretty shabby looking because he was all rusty and yeah, beat up. Like, he's not actually a consistent silver. He's like, he has some areas where he's just like straight up like bronze because of all the rust. So another thing is, actually let's do this front bit first, just because this is where dry brushing really works, when there's all these individual pieces and they're all they've all got like edges and things for the brush to catch on. I love dry brushing because even if you're not like particularly good at painting normal things, dry brushing is so easy in that basically if you put just like a tiny bit of paint on your brush and just go over it just rapidly like this, you really can't mess it up. And me not being particularly good at details, you know, it's nice. Like, see how much nice detail we have here, and like the wash has really made these like little screws pop, and the added little darker gunmetal has given a lot of definition to where the dry brush is not picking up. That was like probably the worst way I could word that, but I hope it makes sense. You can see this one is all messy from the wash. This one is a lot cleaner. It's a bit speckly, but I think that really adds to the dinged up look. I have the same look on Starscream and Soundwave as well, so it's at least consistent. Also, like bits like here, you see this sharp edge here. See how nicely the dry brush just catches that? I sort of realized also that as long as anything can make me feel like a kid again, which these movies definitely do, I sort of have an easy time forgiving like nonsensical plots and whatnot. I just want to see, basically, if a movie can give me some sort of feeling, I'm mostly good for the most part. Okay, so now we're gonna do the part I am most excited for, and I'm a little bit scared I'm gonna mess it up, but we're just gonna do a very quick dry brush of the head. And I really want to avoid hitting like this inside bit I've already painted, because I want that to be a little bit darker by default. Okay, so with the silver done, we're gonna do the like gold details. And for that, I just mixed silver and gold to get this sort of like light gold color, because I don't want it to be like too in your face as gold. And we're just gonna pick out the details ever so slight like that. Like you can see, it's a different color, quite obviously. Gonna do some very faint gold details here on the face, just like these side pieces here of the nose. There's one more thing I want to do. I want to give it the tank treads a little bit of a dry brush. Okay, so we're almost done. We're just gonna add a little bit of rust effect, and for that I'm going with Right Gland Flesh Shade, because it's sort of like a reddish brown, and I feel like it evokes rust pretty well. There's some rust like back here. I want it to be like pretty light. You see like how there are like slight lines here? That's kind of what I'm aiming for. And this also adds into the whole adding more dimension to the silver thing that I was talking about earlier. I finally finished Megatron, and I gotta say, this is probably one of my favorite paint jobs I've ever done. He just turned out absolutely gorgeous, I think. So, to sum it back up, I spray painted him in like a gunmetal color, and then I gave him a paint wash, so these lovely little panel linings really pop. And then I did a silver dry brush just to create some different hues of silver and to make him look a bit dirty. And then I filled out all the gold details like here, so like his like innards, and a few select pieces on the fusion cannon. I've always assumed this was like a fusion cannon because it has like its unique sound. It doesn't. I don't think it like fires bullets. I used the Prime 1 Studio figure as reference, as advised in another video, to get some of the details right. And then I also looked at like the promo art and some stills in the movie. Furthermore, I also added some rust effects because Megatron is quite beat up and rusty in Revenge of the Fallen because he's been laying on the bottom of the ocean for God knows how long. So I used some Reichland Flesh Shade, and I went for a really subtle, like sort of like brown, stainy rust effect. Like you can see it here work itself down, and I have a little bit heavier of a rust paint job here on the back, like up here and then up on these thrusters here. Got some nice gold details inside these thrusters too. And then these details here were originally all bronze, and I thought it looked good, but just like change it up a little bit, I did like a light dry brush of silver to create some different tones, and that extends down here too. And I also dry brushed the tank treads silver and did another like rusty paint job on them just to make them look just like a little bit cooler. I guess we can bring out Starscream. I'm not really sure. I think, is Megatron supposed to be like taller? I mean he is slightly taller, but it's not by much. I think he's supposed to be like up here-ish, but I mean it looks good. And then for the iconic trio, here is Soundwave as well. Wish he was bigger, but according to Dark of the Moon, this is like around the size of what he is, so I guess it's fine. I remember in the Soundwave video I said that a satellite would probably be bigger, but then I actually looked up how big satellites are, and they are actually pretty small, so I guess this size works out logically, but I just wish he was like a little bit bigger. And then this is a little bit off topic, but I also painted up Ravage that came with Grindor. Originally he was all black, and then he had like a very light silver head for some reason, so I dry brushed him with gunmetal and gave his head a wash, and then I gave him a wash again, and then I dry brushed more gunmetal on top, and then I painted these details here gold. And look at him, look at him, so cute. I really like this Ravage, it's really cute. I don't know which one I prefer between this one and the Legends class figure. Like, I think this one is slightly more accurate, but the other one seems to be a bit more posable. I guess we can also bring in Grindor here in the back. Here we have my Movieverse Decepticons. Well, and Ravage here. Like I said, I really want Long Haul just to round out like the game roster. I don't really care too much about Sideways. I don't really think he even had a personality in the game. Long Haul would definitely add some more color to this game because it is a bit like unbearably silver. But so anyway, thank you for watching and hope you enjoyed.
All hail Megatron! Decepticons, begin our assault!